And we're live.
We're live. Cool.
I'm noticing here that we've got a slight. There's like a continuity thing here with the name. Like I've got the pipe, and you've got the hyphen. This feels like a syntax thing. We got to figure this. Oh man.
And you got a last name, and I got only a first name.
Oh no. Okay, we'll work on this for next episode. Sorry, folks, to call it out. This is some inside baseball here before we start the podcast.
And you have like your whole name on your Twitter handle. Maybe I should change my Twitter handle. Get rid of Technoevangelist and just call myself Matt_Williams_2000.
I've realized I'm just not that clever. I come up with things and then later on realize that I'm not as clever as I think I am. So
I did not actually I didn't come up with Technoevangelist.
Ah, there you go. Getting other people to come up with stuff is
somebody else.
The name of the game.
I worked for an analyst firm in New York City, and Joel Weintraub, I think was the guy's name. He said, "Oh, you're like a techno-evangelist." I said, "Great, I'll take it." And I bought my domain name. That would have been in probably like 1993, 94. Bought the domain name, and I've had that for 20-something years.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
I am so new to the industry in comparison. It's good to hear these. 1993, I'm just trying to think of like what I was actually doing with tech, and I feel like Windows 95 would have just launched after that. Windows 3.1.
93 is 2 years before Windows 95 because Windows 95 was 1995.
It was like 3.11 Network Edition. Had no idea about Linux at the time.
Yeah. Because when I started at Microsoft when did I start there? 1996. Oh wait, no, I started there in 1999.
Okay, so Windows 98 SE would have just launched, I think.
Yeah, and I was in education marketing, and we'd be at like different conferences, and people would come up to us and ask us, "Well, I be using what was it called? Windows XP? What
98 SE, I think. Yeah, the second edition of 98.
And we'd say, no, that is not something nobody in education should ever use this. Absolutely. It's just home use only. Don't use it in any sort of, business or school environment. Oh my God.
Right.
But
of course, this is way before like the workstation edition of software from Microsoft, right? Like the
NT Workstation. Well, I guess NT Workstation.
I don't think anyone. Did people run NT Workstation at home though? I feel like that was just a bridge too far at the time. Yeah, well, listen, we can't all be as cool as you.
Because Windows NT Workstation is how you could get to the services for Linux or services for Unix.
Right.
Because up until I can't remember which version of Windows they yanked out, because early versions of Windows all had the POSIX subsystem, and so you could take a lot of shell scripts, like just regular shell scripts, and just run it on Windows, and that always used to work until they yanked it out in 2004, 2005 kind of time frame.
Yeah, it feels like it was one of those Vista things.
Yeah. And then it took them a while to get the, Windows subsystem for Linux back in.
It's sort of sad, but I got to be honest. A lot of what I used in there, I think, was like, was it Tail and maybe wget, were like the two.
Yeah.
Just because I was used to using them elsewhere.
Yeah. I remember when I was there when Microsoft acquired both Interix. Which were some Unix tools, as well as the guys that did all the amazing like screensavers that showed the blue screen of death.
Sysinternals?
Sysinternals, yeah.
Right.
So they were acquired right around
the company. Yeah.
That's when Monad showed up, and Monad is what became PowerShell.
It's amazing. Trip down memory lane. Yeah. As viewers may not know, we both have spent some time in the Windows ecosystem, as well as the Linux ecosystem. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I find that very interesting. Sort of on that note, but maybe like a different ecosystem, did you end up waking up at 5 a.m. by chance to pre-order anything from Apple after we talked?
Did we have to get up last week or
Yeah,
this week?
it
Today?
was last week, I believe Friday. So like a few days
Okay,
after
no,
we had talked.
I
You
did
got me
not.
all amped up. Okay, so I did, unfortunately. And today I received the shipment. I got an iPhone
Yeah.
14 Pro that I can open up on the screen. Oh, sorry, Pro case.
Oh,
Sorry, this is me trying to be funny, but I did get a purple case in the mail because you know the way Apple is, they ship this beforehand. So this is like the MagSafe case.
yeah. Okay.
It is purple. The white balance is a bit off on my
You
screen, but
you got the an Apple case,
I did,
right? Like
but no
okay.
phone. It's on the way. It should be here Friday.
I just got a new case for my phone, which is
Yep.
I don't know if you can
Oh, it
kind
looks
of
nice.
see that there's like a hole here.
Right.
Is it? I've got a mount on the handlebars of my bike, and so this just kind of
Oh.
clips on, which is pretty neat. But
Ah,
like a quad lock.
This is good though. This is like an indicator to me that you know when you're like nesting or you're making your bike home. So I think you like your bike if
I
you're
do.
accessorizing it, right? Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
is this a water bottle that came with the bike?
Oh no, this is
Did you
I think
get just
this
casually
is
work it in?
no, this is the basically the same bottle that we used to get at Datadog that everybody would put their own sticker on to identify theirs because
Right.
everybody had the same bottle, and I got so used to it, and then I left it somewhere, and so this is a reincarnation.
But I grabbed the phone, and I think a lot of tech reviewers out there said the thing from Apple they use the most is the AirPods Pro. I think I get that right.
Hmm.
And I'm in the same boat. I ended up pre-ordering those as well, which will ship later. And it's mostly because when I'm in meetings and they die, I go for the AirPods, which are fine, but they're not as
Yeah,
good. So it's good to have
yeah,
two pairs, which is so silly to say. Again, we're in tech. We like tech, but they are quite pricey for what they do.
yeah,
And I probably don't need two pairs. So I feel like if there's going to be a hand me down at some point in time, so if my
yeah,
family's listening, there'll be some
yeah,
Apple gear coming your way.
yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty rough to be without noise canceling.
Yeah. And I think that I mean the AirPods Pro, the first I mean I had the first gen until I left one of them on a plane somewhere.
Right.
Um, I think they were amazing, and they were they as great as Bose, over the ear had noise cancellation? Maybe not, but they
Right.
fit a whole lot more compact. When I could have it in my pocket rather than somewhere in my bag that's now on in the overhead, and now I have to get the person to let me out because I forgot to pull them out. Um, they're just on you.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It's like
I strapped the Bose.
the best camera in the world is the one you have on you.
You got it. This is why I love these chats because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like the pair of headphones I like the most are the ones that fit into like the Lululemon pocket that they've
Mhm.
made probably for these headphones. And similarly, I pre-ordered the iPhone 14 Pro for the same reason. I take more photos on that than I do on the 9 or 10 cameras that I have,
Yeah,
unfortunately. It
yeah,
just, it is the thing that I use the most. And I really do like the ultra wide lens slash camera that they talk about, but it's got some improvements. I'm here for those
yeah,
improvements because I really like it. I just love cheating with ultra wide, making people look like I put myself in the center of the frame, so I look a little bit skinnier or whatever,
mhm.
like all these little hacks that you can do with ultra wide, or
Yeah,
making buildings look really cool or sunsets.
yeah.
It's cheesy, but it brings me joy. And unfortunately,
Yeah,
they
I'm
got me
still on
again,
the iPhone 10, and
which doesn't have the
so I mean
wide.
10s
Yeah,
Max, but it's only got the two lenses, so
right.
that's kind of a I'm I was that close to getting the
That close.
13, and so the 14, yeah, it's gonna come as soon as
It
we're in the midst of redoing our budget, and so maybe
that's smart.
spending right now is I need to wait till that's over,
it
and then I can.
it's smart. And one of the things I always forget is like right around the holidays is when I forget to do, like, I don't do my budget prior to the holidays, and every year I think I should do it, but every year in the fall is when Apple announces their stuff, so I feel like maybe I buy the phone and then do the budget, and then the
Yeah.
holidays hit, and I'm just Scrooge McDuck for the rest of the holidays.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
I am excited. I can't wait. I think at least in terms of the way people took it, like there were a bunch of announcements. I did end up going back and watching all the announcements after we talked, and I think the Apple Watch is pretty compelling for me. the
Mhm.
Apple Watch Ultra having like a satellite emergency system, especially as people who hike quite a bit. That
Yeah.
was interesting to us, but we're not the Ultra family. I feel like we'll have to wait until it hits the normal
Yeah.
watch because I just don't care that much. I wish I did.
I just updated the watch maybe, I don't know, a year ago. So I don't see the need to update right away. You know, the previous watch I had was the Series Zero, you know, the
Right,
original Apple Watch, which was
right.
fine up until I cracked the face of it last year. And so I upgraded, you know, 6 versions, 7 versions. So I'm sure I'll replace this one at, I don't know, Apple Watch 13.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way when it comes to the watch. I'll skip a few generations because honestly, it does a really good job of just keeping the battery life now,
Yeah.
telling me the time, and like I'm a sucker for the rings. At least I do exercise that way, but yeah, those are
Mm-hmm.
my main features that I need from it. It
Yep.
performs admirably. I haven't broken it yet,
Yeah.
so it seems.
I mean, I wish the battery life were longer. You know,
Right.
after, I mean, the previous watch I wore to this was a Seiko Sportura, and the watch battery there would last, you know, 9 months, 10 months, a year, multiple years.
Yeah, was that
I,
one the winding one?
I mean, you had to, no, it was all battery powered. So it was analog face plus the digital face behind it.
Nice,
But that digital face just showed time and date, and I mean,
nice.
it's like there's no information. It'll you can answer a call on it as long as your phone is right next to it. You know?
It's awesome. So in terms of battery life, like what do you find is chewing down on the battery? Is it TikTok mobile? Is that what you're doing? I heard you're into TikTok these days.
Every time I open TikTok, all I see is junk.
Mine's
And
all mechanical keyboard, so I feel like I might be doing this wrong.
yeah, I like searching for anything useful, and all I see is stuff that like I don't. It's
It
entertaining, I
is
guess, but
it is a weird platform for that, right? Like it seems
yeah,
to sort of pigeonhole you into a category, and like
yeah,
leaving that category seems to be difficult. So
yeah,
mine is mostly mechanical keyboards. Once in a while, some dancing people because that
yeah,
seems to be a thing, but like mostly keyboards, which is
yeah,
cool. But also, like, I don't need an app that shows me
yeah.
keyboards.
Right.
Speaking of gear
And
acquisition syndrome,
and
keyboards
then I
doesn't
created
help.
a new account just now. I mean, just earlier
Okay,
today, and
right.
added a bunch of like. I found a bunch of things, whatever people
Yep.
on the platform, and searched directly for them,
Right.
subscribed just to them, and so now there's like 20 things that I subscribe to. I don't think I actually subscribed to anyone before, so it
Okay.
was, I don't know what it was.
Like a
So I've
mismatch or
subscribed to
whatever.
these 20 things, and then in suggested it's showing, oh, you might like Chris Hemsworth. Like, what? How is it's up a whole bunch of Kubernetes feeds? How is Chris Hemsworth in any way relevant to Kubernetes?
Yeah, you kind of wonder though, like in the background. So is this like a streaming recommendation service? Is this like a batch recommendation service? Is this
Yeah,
like an ad hoc? Like it kind of depends what they're actually doing for their the algorithm. I think they call it the For You page, right? So I wonder if it's something that does multiple times a day or once a day or what have you. But it does sound like, based on what you're telling me, that it's at least longer than the time that you spent on it. So
but
yeah,
I
Instagram's
feel
pretty
like
good at that.
yeah, I feel like now that I have seen that there is a side of TikTok beyond
Right.
other things.
Yeah,
Um,
which is
uh,
recent, by the way. As far as I can tell, it's recent.
yeah, now that I know that, well, maybe I should create some content on TikTok
Oh,
and yeah, a whole bunch of
I
dance.
mean,
No, not dance
yeah,
videos.
I'd be happy to help because there's like that mirror mode, right? Where like you can
Yeah.
do a dance and then I can.
Oh yeah, yeah. Would the dance be on our keyboards?
Oh, have you heard about tap
Oh,
dance? Oh, the QMK tap dance. I would love to do a tap dance demo on TikTok. Like
yeah.
when you tap shift twice really quickly and it creates parentheses kind of thing. That's tap dance. I'd love to talk about this
Oh, okay,
firmware
yeah.
feature in
Okay.
the open source keyboard firmware
Right.
QMK.
I haven't done anything like that with that. I just
Some
do
people use it for
the
macros, but yeah.
yeah. I mean, I definitely do it for a key that would on most keyboards be a caps lock, where you tap it and it's escape and hold it and it's caps lock, or no, it's
That,
hold it and
that
it's
sounds like tap dance.
what is it? Control Option Command Shift if I hold it.
The claw, yeah.
Yeah.
This. I
Yeah.
hate that move on Mac. Mac's got a whole bunch of stuff that I don't necessarily like about it too much.
But then you have to go in and if you do use that hyper key, is what some people call it,
Right.
then you have to also disable. There's like two keys that Apple uses, and if you, it's like, I think it's Command Option Control Shift and then like R or W or something else, and it will start generating a log file in the background of like everything that's going on
Interesting.
the system. And it's not really documented well, but it'll just start churning your game, and you have to disable that. So I use Carabiner to just to disable that.
Now I say that carabiner because I think it's like the climbing.
Yeah, I've heard it so many different ways. It's like,
okay, I don't know.
I don't know what the right way is. It's like Cube Control or
Cube Kettle,
CTL,
yeah.
or
yeah.
I think we've talked about my favorite pronunciation, which I sometimes use because I enjoy it so much. Is a pronunciation by Tamer, who might sometimes watches this, our former colleague. Well, my former colleague, but he without knowing how to pronounce it, he just came up with a pronunciation himself, Kubectl, which I love. I love Kubectl.
I do like that as well. I feel like some of these words, like you'll work in a company that will say things a certain way, and then you change company, and everybody says it the different way. So for me, for example, sudo is what I'm pretty sure it is, because the super user does something, but everyone outside of the company that I used to work at says sudo.
Okay.
I don't know. How is this sudo? I don't understand.
Yeah, I guess I've used both. Sudo.
Because on the like the BSD side, it's do as is the alternative. But it seems like it's do.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Or is it like, VI or V or Vi?
Yeah, or Vim or yeah.
So it should be Vime,
like
right?
When I lived in,
It should be Vime. If it's Vi and you add an N, then it's got to be Vime, not Vime.
Yeah. A place you can share other videos on your Vime. Yeah. It's like when I lived in Netherlands and one guy said cave hat when he meant caveat. And I'd often hear people talk about the awk button. It's either cancel or awk. Okay.
Wow, you're blowing my mind here. This is important though, when you're dealing with people all over the world, right? Yeah, it's important to know.
And then because of the GIF thing, somebody told me, well, we need 64 gigabytes.
I've heard gigabytes so often. Yes.
Except at that time, it probably would have been like 4 gigabytes.
4 gigabytes, yeah. I kind of like it because it sort of sounds maybe old timey, like the jig is up or I'm dancing a jig.
Yeah.
So yeah, the bytes are just dancing.
Yeah.
Just bring some like a nice jovial air to my daily conversations about storage. The other thing that came across my plate before and has come across again, I think I showed it out prior to the chat, but there's like an open incident database from Verica that I've been looking at. Did you have a chance to look through it? I'm sorry to like pepper you with
it's amazing.
This morning. It is pretty cool. I feel like, so how it came up in conversation is someone on that I work with had said, like, I wish there was a place everybody put all their incidents so that we could like learn from them. And I'm sure Verica's got a reason for doing this. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's goodwill, who knows? But what I think is, at the end of the day, being able to have a bunch of these together, they're public incident reports and they kind of graph like what that looks like. But I do feel like having a bunch of these together, and some of them are great, like some of the Cloudflare ones I really enjoy. But being able to look at all of these as a group really tells me, like, one, how you should do it, because writing a public incident report, as a some might call them postmortems or what have you, but like, or a retro, doing that publicly is so much different than doing it internally. And they're similar. You probably have to have done the work to get there, but they're not the same. And some of it is language, some of it is technical depth or breadth as well involved in the incident. And sometimes you just want to know, like, what happened. It's not that you need to know, but you want to know. Like, favorite cloud provider went down, why did it happen?
Yeah.
Or one of these tools that I use, what happened? Kind of thing. Being able to have like a public area for all of these together, just it's phenomenal to me. I think it's so great.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you can search by org name or technology, and so I did a search for Datadog, and you know, saw a bunch that came up, including that first one. I remember one of the first ones that Datadog published. Because I mean, I started at Datadog in, it must have been 2013 or so. I think around 2013. And when, you know, in 2016, when we were putting together that, or not we, I mean, I wasn't really involved, but the company was putting that together. I remember that being kind of like, well, yes, we should say something publicly, but we're putting a lot of information in this document. I mean, I'm glad that, I mean, the creation of that document went all the way to the top, and you know, all the right people were involved in ensuring that we were saying enough information to really tell people what's going on, what really happened, without giving too much away. You know, we're at Datadog, and whatever company that you're at, you're always wanting to, I guess not always want to share information, but companies that want to share information always need to be careful about sharing too much. And if you share too much, are you letting your competitors know stuff that could hurt you? So it was interesting to see, and or searching by technology, like searching by Kubernetes, and a bunch of things came up, or and so that was just fascinating. You know, I've got a talk coming up that
oh no, I'm giving you fodder for a talk.
Well, no, I have a talk coming up in that has been accepted, like for All Day DevOps and a few others.
Nice, congrats.
And at the beginning, I'm going to be talking about some vulnerability or some problems or incidents that have happened because of various reasons. And one of the challenges was going to be, well, now I got to find those places for those incidents. And this is exactly what I needed. I'm so excited about this.
Right. I think so. One of the ones I was sort of tangentially involved in at Samsung and SmartThings was on here as well. But like, it's interesting to see the difference, let's say, in levels of technical information involved, and that one was pretty sparse. Whereas, like, yeah, the Datadog ones are pretty good. The Cloudflare ones are pretty good. Some of the Spotify ones they're kind of hit or miss, but yeah, they're pretty good. Some of these are just easy things too. Like when you're talking about technology, like what you've missed. We were talking this morning about SSL certificate, for example, or like a root cert being, yeah, well, it happens. And if only there was a tool, you know, that could tell your SSL months ago. Anyway, no sales pitch, but like, honestly, this is one of those things that seems to affect a lot of people. You need to know when it expires, and you might put it in as a Jira ticket, but it might get stuck in the backlog, or you forget about it, or maybe you set up a reminder in your calendar, but you're on vacation that week. But there needs to be some sort of way to find out about SSL certs, because it's quite common that someone pulling a root cert, even, it's not just the expiration date, but someone's pulled a root cert that is like essentially allowed you to create yours, and because of that, yours becomes invalidated, but it becomes invalidated in the future, not when it happens, which is like, it's kind of, I don't know if you've ever had like one of those VeriSign kind of ones, but they buy a company and then they found out later that the root of trust isn't valid. Before they pulled it. I don't want to throw any shade VeriSign's way. I mean, it's a great company. However, these things happen, and you end up having to revoke certificates, and it becomes like what did I sign with this? Like, especially if you've got a wild card and you're signing a whole bunch of stuff, it becomes a big problem. And hearing that other companies are having the same problems as, you know, when you're in a small shop, it kind of helps you understand, like, yeah, this is par for the course. This is normal. They decided to do this. We should maybe think of maybe not the exact same solution, but we should pick something similar to it. I really like being able to share these sort of engineering problems, I guess,
Yep.
publicly. It's quite
Yeah.
It feels like the open source knowledge maybe around operations is good to have out there. Those are my
And
thoughts on the Void.
that whole space. I mean, that whole challenge of dealing with certificates and getting public certificates that you could easily get. I mean, all that was so hard before Let's Encrypt.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that changed everything. I saw that one of the, I don't know what his role was, but apparently it was a very important role at Let's Encrypt, just passed away just like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Somebody
I did not hear about that. That's all.
Oh, it came through my feed. I can't even remember the guy's name now, but it
looks like it was Peter Eckersley. It was only 43.
Could have been.
Oh, what a shame.
Is that?
Yeah, September 5th. Yep.
So
super sad to hear.
Yeah, I mean, Let's Encrypt. I mean, changed everything. I mean, and that's only in the last few years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, I think Acme, like people realizing. Remember when you try to set your cert as long as possible? Can I get a 20-year cert kind of thing? Or 5 years used to be a big stretch back in time. And I used to say, like, that old DevOps adage, right? If it doesn't hurt, you're not doing it enough. And it's like, yeah, certs, same thing. It doesn't hurt yet. Because one, you just don't have enough certs, or you're expiring them way too late. And because of that, you're open to, root of trust kind of issues. But having Let's Encrypt come in and say, no, you know what, why don't you recycle these every month? Or something like that. Because I was already doing this on the desktop side. And on the Windows side, there's a bunch of stuff you can do with like local key provider, basically. But essentially, I'd have the workstations ask for new certs on a regular basis to make sure I knew that they were checking in and grabbing the right cert and then getting into the right server, getting the licenses, etc. So I knew that this worked for workstations, but no light bulb or bell went off in my head when I was thinking about servers. Like that was a whole other thing. Like I want to set it and forget it, never touch this. And yeah, when Let's Encrypt came out, it sort of turned that whole thing on its head for me. I was like, oh yeah, this is the right way to do things. Maybe not every hour, maybe not every day, but hey, 2 weeks to a month, that's not bad. 3 months. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and I mean, I know it's not an advertisement for us, but I mean, one of the things in Kubernetes, I mean, Kubernetes users, they're just certs. It's just a cert that has been signed by the certificate authority that's inside the Kubernetes cluster, and a lot of people just don't want to have to deal with creating that cert and getting it signed is kind of this. It's not hard, but it's a lot of steps you need to go through, and so people will have a cert that, I mean, maybe just give everyone cluster admin or create one for a user and then keep it alive for a year or 5 years or as long as they, forever. And that's not a really great idea. And that's one of the things that we do is create those certs that are short-lived, 5 minutes, and then it regenerates a new cert automatically. User automatically is able to log in, and so it's a hard problem, and there's only a few.
It's so easy to mess up too. Like I've messed this up so many. I think XCA is the tool that's still hosted on like SourceForge is the one that I've used to handcraft these. So I've messed it up so many times. Or like I've locked the database that contains all of the certs and everything I need to know, like all of the key material necessary to sign it. I've forgotten the password. It's just awful. It's so bad. It is good to hear people taking these security things that are sort of commonplace or a common problem and figuring out. And I do feel like the more we put this knowledge out there in terms of like what is operationally taxing or complicated or cause issues is there. Like DNS is another one where I feel like a lot of times people will say it's always DNS, but like my adage is like some engineer was using DNS, maybe didn't understand the way it worked or something else happened upstream, but like DNS it's one of the older RFCs. It's pretty straightforward, but it can be used to do a lot of complicated things, unfortunately. Yeah, what was the other one? Failure mode. There's a few on database stuff in there. Like there's Redis ones. There's clustering bugs. When you're rolling update to a cluster and it causes other problems. Like these are all common failure modes where it's hard to understand that you need to design for this failure until you've read about someone else having the issue. And a lot of the times when you go to conferences, you'll get that talk where they talk about some of the issues that they've had and what they succeeded, but you won't hear what you have to do, like the hallway track basically is where you get
Right.
the actual. Now, what happened was, like, I
Yeah.
decided on a Friday night after 2 beers, I'd update
Right.
my SQL as part of a cluster and didn't upgrade the other shards, and because of that, something happened. But
Right. Yeah, you mentioned DNS. Is this long? It's been around for the RFC for that is ancient, and yet there's always. I remember at one point seeing somebody had played around with doing, I think, tunneling over DNS,
right.
And so as a way to get around, if you're on a maybe it's on a plane and you're using GoGo or something, some other service like that, and you don't want to have to pay, and then maybe there's a way to get to tunnel over DNS, and it's just enough to get your messages across. But I've never tried it.
I also have not tried it.
It's like amazing.
I also have not. Yeah, there's certain ports involved that I guess you can just send packages on as long as something's listening on the other end, perhaps. But generally, is it TCP 53 out is typically enabled, if not UDP, which is you can do a whole bunch of stuff there. Is DOH or is it HOD? Yeah, DOH is DNS over HTTP. I think it's HOD that we're talking about, HTTP over DNS.
Okay.
I should try it, but now that we've I should try to save.
So I think our task items right now are we need to try that, and we need to create a TikTok.
Right.
So far. But
we got to stop assigning ourselves tasks.
Huh?
We have to stop assigning ourselves tasks in a system. So one of the things that I saw on TikTok that kind of like got me started, and the reason I pinged you is because I saw that AWS Outpost kind of video, and then I went through the person's all the videos, and we're talking about videos with maybe 200 views or essentially streams, but there's not a lot of traffic to them, so I'm not sure where the juice comes from, but the content's there, and I did like that's something that I would never have seen. I'm not going to go to that trade show. I probably like maybe at reInvent I'd see it, but honestly, it's just not. Unfortunately, I just don't rack and stack anymore, so I don't see these things. But being able to see a 42U AWS Outpost and sort of walking through like how it's built was really cool to me, and that, for me,
I
like
didn't
that's
watch any of the videos on that.
Yeah, there are a few others. I kind of just browsed through. So we're talking about Justin Lee Garrison on TikTok. In case anyone's listening to this audio only, we'll try to share links. But it's pretty cool. There's a few videos.
Was the Outpost one also from him?
Oh, maybe it wasn't. Oh, sorry. You sent me Justin Lee Garrison.
I sent you Garrison, yeah.
I'm so easily confused. No, this was from Storage Review. My apologies. Which is another space I don't necessarily deal with anymore. So storage. My apologies. So Storage Review was the one that I found.
Sent each other the same person.
Yes.
And not realize it.
Yes, that would not surprise me at all. And I think you had sent the Justin Lee Garrison one as well, which also seems pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've watched quite a lot of that. That was like the first person I'd seen. It's like, oh, there's TikTok content that's actually useful. And apparently a lot of people know this, but I did not know this.
Yeah. Now to be maybe charitable to both of us, do you think this is a generational thing, or do you think this is more we're just very busy?
I am not in the target audience of
I feel like I'm not too. Yeah.
15 to 25-year-olds, I guess.
I honestly I've tried to like TikTok a few times, but I do find that it is like a lot of the content seems to be geared to just not me. Unfortunately, like I can dance, I can't dance that well.
No. Even when they slow it down for the first 4 steps, like I can't. I still can't do it.
Right foot, left foot, I'm already lost.
Yeah.
So for
Even
me,
if
it's more like
predator outfit. I'm not going to do it.
Exactly. Like the elephant pants are not helping me at all.
Yeah.
I guess we're aging ourselves. Sorry, folks.
Yeah.
I did want to give speaking of tasks. So last time we talked about bags, and we do tend to talk about travel quite a bit. I apologize, but we did end up going to the mall of all places and looking around, and walked past Toomey and went into Toomey and ended up grabbing a Toomey bag for my partner, my significant other. Okay. But it was a pretty interesting experience. I've never had. It felt like a sort of, I don't know, like valet purchasing experience.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty interesting, and they give you like a little monogram thing for it. But what was interesting is, because I'm me, of course, I mentioned, oh, can you get like emojis on your monogram? Mostly as a joke, because I know when you get your AirPods or whatever, you can get emojis on them, like you can get a emoji or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, we can do that. And they showed us, and they're basically the extended ASCII characters. So you've got like the club, the heart, the spade, the diamond, a few other characters that are part of this extended. I think it's 128, but you get those characters. And so we tried to get a heart on it. And unfortunately, like, much love to the Toomey rep, we tried this, but it just did not work. They line them up manually. So it's super manual. So they do one at a time on leather.
Oh,
and,
okay.
You know, it can slide and stuff. And they were misaligned and they didn't like it. So they ended up giving us like another tag. What's interesting is, because they didn't like the quality of it, they wouldn't actually give us the other tag either. So the bag tag doesn't really match, but it was like a quality control thing. It's very strange. I don't know if they didn't want us like posting this on Instagram or maybe TikTok, whatever you're saying, like, hey, look at this, they messed up kind of thing, but they wouldn't even give us the failed ones.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we have like unmatching tags for the bag or whatever.
Right.
My partner's super happy. This thing, it's built like, it looks indestructible.
What's the warranty like on that?
5 years. I think it was North America though. So I think one of the key tips you have for us is like,
if you never go outside of North America, that's great. 5 years is a little bit harsh, but but yeah, I mean, I mentioned that international warranty just because at the time I was I was putting most of the miles on these bags. I was very international, and so that was critical for me. But yeah, for most people, the country they live in, that's good enough.
Yeah, it does look like it actually might even be just the country we live in, up to 5 years for travel. Yeah. Oh well, but it's
they're great bags.
Yeah, it's fashionable, which is key, which is not something I sort for. You know, when we're talking about like what we select for, like looks are so low down on the list.
Yeah.
It could look really ugly. And in fact, they had some. They were sold out of the international carry-on size because apparently people like to travel now, and they have not been able to travel. So they're traveling quite a bit. They realized they want new luggage. The international travel one was completely sold out, aside from one that had literally like a red sort of Spider-Man web interior. And I sort of drew the line at that. I was like, maybe not interested in the Spider-Man one. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
But I did look at, was it Victorinox as well? So I'm still on the hunt for a bag. I looked at Hayes.
And the Briggs & Riley was the other one I mentioned.
I did look at Briggs & Riley, yes. Very, very nice. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm still out there. I've realized that my TD is still there. I still haven't traveled. New York's coming up, so I've got like a month to get there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're I guess the next trip that I've got coming up is going to be to Detroit for KubeCon. And then, but then I see that the KubeCon Europe is in Amsterdam. So I was like, I think I got to go. And I think Tony, I mentioned it, said, and he's like, wow, great. We're all going.
Whole family.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Do you, do you commit to Kubernetes at all? I always feel bad going to KubeCon because I don't commit. And
you don't
commit. I commit to the repos or anything like that. Okay, I'm in the Windows SIG, but honestly, I haven't done anything there. I'm just sort of peek at it to figure out what's going on there.
Yeah,
no, I really should though. Yeah. I do use it a lot, which is why I guess I feel guilty. The whole open source thing for me is like I'm using something, and like if I could buy a T-shirt, I'd do that. But they're always sold out. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I think they're sold in the Google store too, which is also kind of weird. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It just feels like I should be giving somehow the CNCF some money or something. Yeah. So like I think what they want you to do is pay for training or what have you. But that path to guilt-free usage of Kubernetes is what I'm looking for. Like maybe it's README updates or something. But I feel like I need to do something to contribute that. And I'm assuming you're going for work because you're pretty.
For work, Yeah, we're not sponsoring just because we couldn't get in time to sponsor.
Right.
It doesn't look like we've gotten in time for Europe either in April 2023, because it's not. There's no sponsorship option. So maybe it'll be next year, US.
It is a great community though, and honestly, like a lot of what I do these days is Kubernetes. People are asking for Kubernetes every day. Either they want to figure out how to get what they have onto Kubernetes,
right,
or they're on Kubernetes and really need to know like what that day 2 experience is,
right,
or we're talking day 500. Like how do I do cost control or like actually fit more things onto my clusters that I have, because people are running like multiple clusters now. It's not just the one. It's
right.
the 3 to start. So you get your dev staging garage, and then maybe you're starting clusters, you're putting data onto them. Yeah, it becomes pretty complicated pretty quickly. I'm talking about like clusters of servers in order to give you utility storage and compute. It can explode. I'm kind of jealous. I probably should go to the one in Europe, but it's pretty far away. And I think I'm too late for the one in Detroit.
Too late for what?
The one in Detroit, I believe I'm too late. When is it?
It's October 23 or 24, somewhere in there.
I remember what the problem was. So we have an event right around that time. The one in New York that I'm going to.
Oh yeah, but that's earlier in the month.
The Datadog Dash. Yeah, I think it ends on the 20th.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe it's the 18th. I should know. I think it's the 16th to 18th.
So KubeCon is 24th to 28th.
Okay. And Dash, I believe, is also in October.
October
18th and 19th. Yeah, so 2 close. I got to get there though. Like, it feels like being able to meet some of the people that are instrumental for things that you use on your day-to-day basis is and I'll work on the guild. I'll maybe go in and just commits here and there. Maybe write that course, like the Kubernetes and main course. I think is one of the ones that like, a lot of people have taken. Have you done any of those CNCF courses?
I was a little distracted because right outside my window, right here. In fact, I wonder if I can change camera. I better not do that. But right outside my window is this room is kind of sunken down, and so I see the path that goes outside, and my daughter just went past me. I don't know where she's walking to.
Is she unsupervised?
I think she's unsupervised.
Do you need to check on that? Like I can keep the stream happy.
Oh, hold on. I'll be right back.
All right. So while Matt's going away, I'll talk about what I would recommend this week and what I think Matt might also like. So one of my favorite authors, Haruki Murakami, that's Murakami, has a book called the Wind Up Bird Chronicle, which I can't recommend enough. And it seems to be on sale right now for $3. So I may grab it again and read it or listen to it again, because I really do enjoy it. And it's sort of an absurdist title. It's kind of about self-discovery and maybe a little bit of like midlife crisis and like introspective, while at the same time being a little bit surreal and absurdist. So I can't recommend it enough. I read it at a time in my life, I think, where I was just entering university, had just come back from Japan. So it was pretty meaningful for me at the time. And I feel like if you go into it expecting something a little bit strange, but are willing to be surprised that you may also like it. And it's for $3. It's again, like, it's not super cheap, but it's quite cheap for a book. So I can't recommend it enough. So I'll put a link into the chat. But yeah, it's available at most of the book publishing places.
Hey,
how you doing there, Dewey?
What's wrong?
Nope.
It's cold outside. You didn't go inside.
Drop on here.
Hold on. Let's go back outside and get see Mama. Okay. Come on. Let's go back. She's looking for you now. Come on. Let's go.
Sorry, folks. We're trying to make sure that we've got a supervised child on the stream.
Inside.
So anyway, back to books. Now that I get my monologue time, would highly recommend this book. And once you've read it, there's a few more after this that you might like that are in the same sort of vein. Kafka on the Shore might be the sort of next one, which is also it's Kafka-esque, I guess, if you like Kafka, Franz Kafka. You may also like Kafka on the Shore, and it's kind of sort of a winding path sort of story that is also absurdist, and I feel like might be a good follow up to the Wind Up Bird Chronicle. I was just doing a monologue about like some Japanese book to read. Yeah, it's
about what?
It's a Japanese book. Haruki Murakami's Wind Up Bird Chronicle is my recommendation for the week. Would highly recommend it. $3.
I have not. I think I tried the running one.
What I talk about when I talk about running.
Yeah.
It's not at all like his other stuff.
No.
Yeah. I do really want to have a talk though. Like what I talk about when I talk about DevOps is stuff in the Bible. Or like what I talk about when I talk about operations, because like or incident management or what have you. Like I've got a no nonsense guide to some of the things that have happened to me in the past and why I do things the way I do. But it's a good book if you like running. So his main thing, if you haven't read the book, I'll spoil it for you. His main thing is he goes to run as therapy, and he doesn't have a set goal or path in mind. But also, he lives in Tokyo, so where he runs could be like around the castle, essentially, or he may just be running in the streets. But you could be in Tokyo seeing this person, this like internationally acclaimed author, just jogging past you. He doesn't bring, I don't think he brings a water bottle or snacks, but if he gets thirsty or hungry, he'll allow himself to stop and like do it and keep running, which is interesting. I think now he might actually bring a granola bar or something like that in case he needs it, but that is his thing. So it's kind of like a Forrest Gump thing. So like one day I decided to start running, and that's what he does. He just runs. And then he talks about I'll run for 6 hours, come home, and like come up with half a novel. Like wow. So apparently it's how he gets sort of the creativity kind of flows is just to run. And a lot of what he's talking about is like practice. So conscious practice. He might be thinking about the book. He might just be going for a jog. It's kind of amazing to me. Because I do not run like that at all. I definitely have like stop at 5K and like crawl home.
Hi. Hey. Where's Mama? She's outside? Okay. Jade does not want your flowers.
Edible flowers.
Oh, thanks. My daughter brought me some flowers.
They look delicious.
Nom, nom, nom.
It's like that improv role, right? Just roll with it. just
I've had lots of last night we had lots of candy in the form of shells with tea. So
interesting.
Yes. I had to have all of it.
Well, yeah. So it sounds like high tea. You had a high tea experience, yes?
High tea, yes. I guess we're going to have high tea in real life at, let's see, I think it's next week, maybe next week or the week after. We're going to we're going to be in Victoria. So, Victoria, Canada. So,
you're coming close to here. Excellent.
Yeah.
Are you taking like a ferry up? I know there's some sort of international way to get to Victoria from where you are.
Yeah, so we drive over to Port Angeles and take the ferry from there to Victoria. And we're driving on. So we're taking our car and going to be in Victoria for a few days and then on to Hornby Island.
Excellent. So a former coworker of ours, Aaron, recently also went to Victoria and had a great time. But as I told him, I will tell you. So in the words of No Means No, one of my favorite bands, Victoria, it will bore you. I find it incredibly boring, but his experience in Victoria is totally different than mine. But I've been there a few times, and like I could take it really good. It's kind of like a retirement city for Canada. A lot of people will retire there. So the population, I guess, is around our age now, but like it's just not a lot going on.
There's like a big museum there, like near the Empress. There's a big museum, and are you going to the Empress? I just learned about a museum that's in the basement of the Empress.
Are you going to the Empress? Is that where you're staying?
We're staying at the Empress.
Woo. Okay, I mean that's a whole historical thing there. Excellent.
Yeah, we used points. We had Chase points, and so it covered the whole stay for like 5 nights. So. Yeah.
The Empress was maybe the most interesting thing I saw in Victoria.
Yeah.
There's also like University of Victoria has a bunch of rabbits. If you like rabbits, apparently people keep
Rabbits.
releasing them, and
Okay.
they multiply like rabbits, and they're everywhere. I don't know if that's of any interest to you.
I think Tony and Stella are going to go to the Butchart Gardens.
Right.
I'll probably be working remote for a couple days there, but then we got a wedding to go to at the house that was Professor X's castle in one of the X-Men movies.
Right.
So, yeah.
It sounds fun. Like honestly, it is a nice place. I think at the time I was
like,
quite young, so it was boring to me.
Yeah. It's like one of the most boring places on earth that I know of. Is only boring because I've been there 30 times, and that is Dubai. I think Dubai is the most boring place on the planet. I hate it. I hate going there. Every time I go there, I just want to leave, but I'm always there for like 4 or 5 days. I mean, I haven't been there now in 7, 8 years, 9 years, but I used to go 5 or 6 times a year, and I hate it. I hate it. The first 5 times, amazing. By the 30th time, sucks. I hate it.
Fair enough.
But the first 5 times were amazing.
I've never been. I can imagine my first 5 times. I would like. But I've also been to New York and only stayed in like sort of the Midtown Manhattan area, and really didn't like it the first time I was there. And then after that, on subsequent visits, I actually, got around a little bit more, and it was much better. But I can understand, like, just seeing the same of one thing is not that interesting. So listen, we're coming up on time. Aside from some way to surveil your daughters so that they're not like walking around the yard unsupervised, what recommendations would you have for us? What's new and interesting?
Oh no,
you came unprepared.
I guess it's going to be Justin Lee Garrison's TikTok because he's got all sorts of things about the Kubernetes concepts and all sorts of. He was taking a Apple Cube early.
I saw that, trying to remove the logo off it.
Remove the logo and put a Kubernetes logo on it instead. Looks fine. And,
I really do like the design of the cube. I understand where he's going with that, even though I'd probably leave the logo. As I was taking the task a little bit after this, I should admit that I'm an Apple fan. I'm also like a Samsung Android fan, but as someone who's in tech, like I definitely do like Apple. In case there are any, apparently I left that sort of open. I should have made it more obvious. But yes, I do own most of the devices, as well as like a bunch of Samsung stuff. So like those are the 2 horses that I've picked in this race.
I thought of something.
There you go.
So I got this.
Oh, nice. That looks like a macro pad. Am I right?
It is. It is 9-key macro pad from Vadir. I got it on Amazon. Got it the next day. It is clicky switches. You can't change the switch, but you can change the keycaps if you want to. But
I mean, you could probably desolder if you wanted to, but like
I'm sure you could.
That's work.
But it has a really nice UI, and you if you don't use the UI to wipe the firmware, you're just gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But with their app, you can either map it to any individual keys or to combinations or series of commands or lots of other things. And when you plug it in, you see the little, almost like a HUD display of what you have the things mapped to right now.
Oh, nice.
And so you can remember. And so what I've basically done is the middle keys are JKL for moving back and forth in Final Cut. And then the keys below that are, the middle key is blade and then trim start, trim end. That way so I just have to use really these 6 keys for most of the things I want to do in editing. And then the top ones are really just to select the clip under the playhead and then move up and down if you have additional storylines on the So, and so that is like, that's most of the things I need in Final Cut. And it's just right there, and it's great. So
that's
and it was,
fantastic.
I don't know what it cost. It was $30 or so, 30, maybe
That's not too bad.
$40. I spent a long time searching for some. I was, after seeing enough of, there's a guy whose last name starts with a V, who does a lot of keyboard things. V. He's anyway. He's done a bunch of like Ergodox videos, as well as creating his own keyboards and going with the kind of the Ergodox layout with the pale chocolate keys, and getting them smaller and smaller to the point of having a keyboard with a single key as a kind of a joke, and being able to type all the letters with one key by different tap dance moves.
That's pretty cool. That's also like a really big, because tap dance is pretty big in the firmware, so I can only imagine how large that file was, because those definitions are expensive.
So yeah,
that's really cool.
That's great.
I do find like this is sort of again like a bit in the weeds, but what's interesting about those macro pads is that even though you may be thinking that 1 to 9 is the same as what you already have on your keyboard, it's generally those are like the numpad keys, and people don't understand like the num lock button will unlock, like there's a page up, there's a home, there's an end, there's a bunch of stuff under there that like it's pretty interesting to me to find out that like those key codes are different, they correspond to different. It's a whole
key codes. Oh my god, that is
right?
One of the important things for me. Because I have my keyboard, the keyboard that's below right in front of me is a Moonlander from Ergodox. And it's mapped to use Workman or Workman as the keyboard layout. And so that's fine. But as soon as I go over to my Mac, I switch over to it's a regular QWERTY keyboard, but then I've got a mapping to be Workman. And so then let's say the L key, what shows up as L on the keyboard is actually the O key when I type it. But some applications, when you store the fact that you've typed the L key, it will store it as the key that represent, key code, whatever, or the key that is in that position on the grid of keys on a Mac, and therefore be always L, or L if it's US, or O. So some do it correctly and some do it incorrectly, but so there's this tool I found pretty recently called Space Launcher, which if you
look at this,
hold down the space key, it will pop up a little menu of potential other things you can do. And so I can type space O to open up Obsidian in my case. And you don't have to hold it. If you hold it, a little menu pops up, but if you just use space O, then it'll open up Obsidian, or open up a website, or do a series of characters, and then you can create groups and groups and groups. And so maybe space F to open up different your favorite file folders.
Nice.
And it lists out all the file folders. But you can do this in I think you can do this in Keyboard Maestro as well. But this is a little bit more focused on one particular this one thing. But it's pretty cool. I think it's called Space Launcher.
Yeah, I found it. It looks like it's free as well. So I grabbed the link as well. We'll try to add that to the notes.
Yeah.
This was awesome. As always, I've learned a ton. Thank you very much for the conversation.
Did you have? So your recommendation was that Murakami book?
Wind Up Bird Chronicle. Can't recommend it enough. For $3, it's kind of. I'm not going to say it's a steal. You maybe I'll find a used book cheaper than that, but for $3 brand new, definitely worth it.
Wow, pretty cool. All right,
sir. Let's see if we can find the end stream button.
Nobody.
I didn't. I forgot to put it on Facebook. My family didn't join.
Oh well, next time.
All right, sir. Have yourself a good week.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
And broadcast.